Lower Dog.
Have you missed me? Kiryu-chan! Welcome back to Lore Dump, the show where we take somebody who hasn't experienced a video game or video game franchise and walk them through the lore. I am your humble torturer, Chase, and I'm here with
Neil!
and
Monty.
And what are we here for?
More Yakuza 2, I guess!
For Yakuza 2! Baby!
You've got a real pep in your step. Are you really excited about it?
Woo! I'm fucking hyped! So, last time we finished off the base game of Yakuza Kiwami 2. How are we feeling?
Really enjoyed it.
Good, yeah, it was a good one.
We're feeling
Really
sad.
good one. It was a little
Are we
sad.
feeling depressed?
No.
Oh, that's
I
good.
feel like you're expecting us to be, but I thought it was really good. I'm a big guy that Ryuji's dead. I really liked Ryuji.
Yeah.
But the rest of them...
Stubborn bastard. He just...
Yeah. But the rest of them, great. Yeah, totally fine. I'm especially happy that Kaoru survived the game, because I thought she was going to die. But yeah. Don't know what this is.
Well,
Just got lots of Majimas on screen.
you see, when Yakuza was recreated as Yakuza Kiwami 2, they noted that Yakuza Kiwami 2 has some plot holes.
Does it?
It's got some plot holes.
Okay.
It needs to plug those plot holes.
Sure.
Who can plug our holes?
Welcome to the Yakuza Kiwami 2 Majima Saga! The Majima DLC, baby!
Right.
So,
how can you might explain this in a sec, but I'm just curious, how does this operate when you're playing Kiwami 2 then? Is it like Kiwami 2 ends and they're at the graveyard and the credits roll and then what? We cover fucking bleeding on Majima and we just keep going?
technically, this is a prequel to Yakuza Kiwami 2. This takes place just before the start of the game, and specifically details why Majima left the Tojo and kind of the events surrounding that.
Oh, okay, so this is pre-Majima construction.
This is pre-Majima construction, yes.
Exciting, okay, cool.
So this is kind of why the fuck is Majima running a construction company now? Why wasn't he in the Tojo the last time we saw him? Because we kind of just got the vague, high-level overview of, I didn't like Terada, so I popped. Now we get to actually see that. And we get to play as Majima!
He was spot on about Terada.
Yeah. So this was obviously, because...
It's that intuition! They hit the head and you get the cut the wires.
This obviously came out after, Yakuza 0 came out. Everybody adored playing as Majima so much. And they remade this, and they're like, we'll give you some more Majima.
Yay.
Does
Does Kiryu pop out of bins for this one?
No, Kiryu's retired.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Kiryu's just chilling. Kiryu's just chilling with Haruka during this time. But I'm really curious if I don't know if we've mentioned it here, but as of this point, Yakuza Kiwami 3 has been confirmed by RGG Studios. We are getting. I don't think it's in development yet. I think they've just they've kind of said it's not the next project coming out. It's not the next project coming out. We've got things currently in development, and none of them are Kiwami 3.
Cool.
But Kiwami 3 is coming at some point.
It's how long running this franchise is, and you don't see it a lot where you get this really, but we are starting to see it with like Assassin's Creed, for example, where they are talking about remastering. The rumors are they're going to remaster some of the early games as they're continuing to release.
Oh, Mortal Kombat has technically remade Mortal Kombat twice, technically.
Yeah.
Which is insane, and that story is a madness.
I think the real weird one with Yakuza specifically is because of how they ended up remastering them and recreating them. I think Dragon Engine is a pretty good baseline. I think that will hold up, even to the future. But it means that at some point they're probably gonna have to remake 0 and remake 1 again. God. So are we getting Kiwami 1?
Well, it's impossible to say when you're living in the times, but I think there's games on the PS3 that came out in the latter half of the PS3 that look basically fine.
Last of Us.
Yeah.
I think the main issue is you get the games that have strong artistic stylization. You get the games that try to go for realism.
Yeah.
The games that go for realism will eventually look dated,
Yeah.
whereas the games with high artistic style, which is why most Nintendo games never...
And this is it fair to say this is somewhere in the middle, really. It's got
To a
this
degree,
really
yeah.
strong style, but
Yeah.
they do update the kind of facial animation.
I think they've done really good with kind of walking the line between realism and kind of that anime styling.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway.
I'm very excited for this one. Cool. Because you know that my biggest issue consistently, and it's just a personal thing I know, is that the Yakuza games are far too long. So to know that there's just a nice little self-contained Majima story that we can focus on, very excited.
Little 3 chapters. They're pretty short chapters.
Fantastic.
You can usually beat the Majima Saga in a couple hours.
Amazing. Okay. Set the clock.
Yakuza 2, Majima Saga, Chapter 1, Tojo Clan Reform.
Ooh, okay.
5th Chairman Yukio Terada enters to a meeting of the Tojo Clan officers. He sits at the head of the seats. This is in that main meeting room in Tojo HQ. He sits at the head as the officers immediately begin to rage over his reform. Stooping to working with 2-bit thugs to turn a profit? He may have been an Omi man, but he needs to remember that he's with the Tojo now, and they don't operate like that. They aren't money-grubbing bastards like the Omi. Terada sits quietly, taking the anger, as from next to him, a man shoots up. All I hear is the cheeping and chirping of a bunch of whiners. This is Akinobu Uematsu.
Oh, okay.
Patriarch of the Uematsu family, who we've not met yet, so a new patriarch.
Okay.
Sorry, let me get the notebook ready. I didn't realize I'd need the notebook for the DLC.
There's new names!
Alright, okay.
Uematsu.
Uematsu, he's got his own family.
Uematsu.
Uematsu.
He scolds the men, asking if they have any place to talk when they're turning pitiful profits. Our man shouts back at him to know his place. He may be Terada's little pet, but he's still a baby, fresh up from some third-rate family. Another calmer voice chides in. One's tenure no longer has any bearing here. It's the voice of Kei Ibuchi, patriarch of the Ibuchi family.
A very handsome young businessman. You know, he sort of looks like he's got his first ad exec job or something.
Those who produce profits are promoted. Those who can't fall from grace. A blood transfusion based on results and ability. That's the basic concept between the 5th Chairman's Tojo Clan Reform Plan. So, at its simple, he's turned the Tojo into a meritocracy.
So these are the young guns, and
These
they
are
are
the young guns.
they're bringing in a lot of dollar, and suddenly your name doesn't mean so much, your history doesn't mean so much.
Exactly.
Is it an actual meritocracy? He's being quite fair with how he kind of, or do people get favoritism?
Technically, it is a fair meritocracy,
Right.
but the ones pulling in the top dollar are kind of using some underhanded tactics that don't jive with the more honorful and traditional values of the Tojo.
Oh, okay. So some of these clowns are breaking all the rules.
Cutting corners.
Yeah. That's
So-
not a meritocracy. That's a dickheadtocracy.
On a long day.
So,
Let me get the dad joke book out.
Old Guard and New Guard isn't going to matter in the new Tojo. It's all meritocracy. So these 2 young upstarts churning the majority of the clan's profits have the right to talk to the Old Guard however they see fit. The Old Guard all storm at them, except I should note Kashiwagi, who is sat there very calmly in his captain's seat, and they're all shouting and raging. But Terada calls for order, bringing them back to their seats. He calls to order the executive meeting, picking up from where they left off last time. Who will fill the clan captain's empty seat? As an outsider himself, Terada finds that the filling of such a vital and influential position difficult. As such, they shall instead be selected through the rules established by his Tojo Clan Reformation Project. That is, whoever turns the biggest profits for the clan will become the new captain. So, Kashiwagi is currently acting captain, but he is not the captain. So, whoever can turn the profits is going to take Kashiwagi's place as the actual captain. A range of emotions flash across Kashiwagi, Ibuchi, and Uematsu's faces as the room goes silent. Terada turns to evaluate the total revenues of each family. He hands the meeting over to Ibuchi, who brings up a graph on screen, leaving the various patriarchs aghast. Uematsu and Ibuchi's family have a behemoth.
There's one name on the graph, folks, with a sliver on the graph, the smallest by far. The Majima family.
I suppose they probably were up here until Majima Everywhere, at which point they spent it all.
He spent a movie production budget on trolling his boyfriend around the city.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so Uematsu and Ibuchi have just a behemoth margin, and at this point, it seems Uematsu is likely to become captain. Although it should note that the Kazuma family under Kashiwagi is doing massively better than the rest of the old guard.
It's because they don't have to deal with Kazuma's bloody 20, 30D chess plans. That's where all that money's
I
gone.
think it's probably because Kashiwagi was a good student.
Ibuchi specifically points them out as making some effort. But even them as a leader of the old guard don't even make half of the young blood's contribution. And of course, they also point out Majima's amusingly small percentage. But seems pretty straightforward by the numbers. Ibuchi sneers, leaning forward in his chair. Uematsu's going to be the new clan captain. One of the other patriarchs blunders that they only have so much profits because their hands are tied up in dirty business. The Tojo clan has ethics, even if the 5th chairman condones it. The other families aren't going to. Are they so blinded by profits that they've lost the Yakuza spirit?
I'm waiting for the moment that, just before you continue this, this is entirely separate. Kiryu's moment there, just when he was thinking about, like, oh, this is it, and I'm going to die, and certain faces flashed up on screen, and he was thinking of Majima and stuff like that. I feel like later, if Kiryu is around in the later games, because again, the only thing I know about the later games is that Ichiban suddenly becomes an important character, which is why I've based my avatar off him.
Neil sat there like, who the fuck is that?
Yeah, all I know, Neil, is that there's just suddenly a new important character called Ichiban that is like a big deal. So I'm waiting for a moment when Kiryu is much older, and an older man, which he probably will be if these games are still going up until now, when he's old and he's retired and he's grizzled and he's probably got his big I'm gonna die moment again, and whatever happens, I don't know. But when it is that, but much more intense and heightened. You know, it's like the walk. It's the walk you get in games. You know, it's like when you hear the echoes of the famous, the lines that people have said throughout the years. I don't wonder how much of it you'll get for like Zero right through. And if they ever do that sort of epicness of like a series-wide look back, where he goes back to Nishiki, you know, and the things that Nishiki said. I don't know. I'm just thinking about it because obviously this is the first. Yakuza 2 was the first time Kiryu actually faced death. Like, aside, obviously, you had the moment when Nishiki put the gun to his head, and all those moments.
I got shot in Zero, and it was pretty bad.
It was bad, but like, I think this is the moment where he came to terms with like
closest.
this. Like, I am going to die. No, I'm about to die, and I'm not going to do anything to try and stop it. You know, that epic moment. Again, I know that we had Zero where Nishiki put the gun to his head. That's kind of different in the vibe of the moment.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to get that sort of moment again, and I'm looking forward to the later games when you've got an entire saga behind you that will make that moment even more epic than it was here. Anyway, continue. Sorry.
It does go to show how many individual characters get like 10 60-hour games. That is mad.
Like, no wonder Kiryu's an icon.
That is absolutely mad. Who even comes close to that?
Whilst I still don't find him personally like a character that I personally latch onto and find all that interesting or endearing. I absolutely understand because we are experiencing 60-hour games in 10 hours. You know, I understand massively how in the cultural zeitgeist people just kind of absorb this character and I understand why people love him.
I think that as of right now, you still have early series Kiryu.
Okay.
I'm curious to see how your thoughts of that evolve over the series.
I mean, it makes sense that he would change.
Like, I still don't think I could describe him to you as an interesting character in a few sentences.
I'd say that he's got his like baseline. You know, they've got the Bible of Kiryu, but he absolutely evolved.
There's things we know and love about him. He'll always stop to help someone. You know.
Yeah, that is absolutely, as much as we groan at the side quest stuff, the side quests continue to be the most entertaining aspect of the story. Except for, to give the series its credit, the finales have always been, despite my problems with Zero, they've always been pretty epic showdowns. Like, there's always a like, oh, here we go. And so far, it has ended, 3 times now, where it's like 4 characters standing on a rooftop pointing guns at each other. Yeah. But I also really love that as a trope anyway.
One of them was 4 characters standing on a boat.
Sorry, you're right. Yes, yeah. And now suddenly a character steps out the shadows and goes, "It was me all along." And I'm curious to know if that's something that continues every game. I don't care if it does. It's fine. I honestly don't hate it as a trope. It's a fun trope to repeat, especially there because the Terrada reveal was so good. Sorry, continue. We're not talking about Yakuza 2 anymore, but DLC.
Yeah. So everybody pissed off, saying, you young blood, you don't have the Yakuza spirit. Uematsu gets up, storming at them again to shut the fuck up and put their money and ethics where their mouth is. Try actually putting some food on the table for themselves for one. Ibuchi smiles, saying again that if there are no further objections, Uematsu is going to be the captain. Terada just grunts his agreement. Suddenly, though, there's an odd sound from behind the closed door. Is that humming?
Giggling.
The humming grows louder and closer, turning into full singing. All heads turn to the door as they bust open, and Majima strolls in.
What's he singing? Is he singing the Majima anthem? Is he working through it, figuring out the notes? It's like, oh, that bit goes there.
Yeah. He walks just straight up the row, singing all the while, gleefully just swinging his arms, little skip, and smiling as he walks right up and plops himself directly into the captain's seat. Don't mind if I do! Uematsu looks at him. I don't recall that being your seat. Majima goes deadly serious. Shut up and watch. He claps his hands twice. Roll it in! The doors burst open again as Nishida and 2 of Majima's men roll in, pulling a massive cart loaded to the point that it is spilling over with wads of cash. The officers gasp, whispering to themselves how it's impossible. Where'd they get all that money? And Majima just simply looks up from his seat, chuckling him to himself.
Stole it from you guys.
Just like a massive fucking wheelbarrow. See, I've been itching to play some baseball. So, I lent some money in exchange for this teeny dirty patch near Kamurocho. Next thing I know, some business swoops in asking to buy all that land so they can build on it or something. So I put a crazy-ass price tag on it, and somehow I ended up with a barrel full of money. What can I say? Money comes easy when I actually try a little.
That sounds very familiar.
Terada glares at Majima, his plan just absolutely backfiring. As the mad dog soars to the top of his leaderboard. Oh, damn. Well, if we're going purely off profit, your next captain's going to be me, of all people. You're the 5th chairman, though. The criteria is totally up to you. All I'm saying is, he goes serious again, underestimate the Tojo clan, and its dog's going to bite you. Uematsu and Ibuchi, collecting their rage, ask Terada for his thoughts, and he tables the issue for the next executives meeting. They leave, Kashiwagi leaving Majima with a
bullshit. He's been fucked over.
Guys, can we take this offline?
Fucked over.
Kashiwagi leaving Majima with a final warning that Uematsu isn't going to take that lying down. They drive back to Kamurocho as Majima's driver, one of his newer boys, asking if the Tojo clans are really going to manage these reforms. Is profit-driven really the way? Majima tells him that he's too new to be stressing over stuff like that. Besides, it doesn't matter. Terada's the chairman. If he says something's black, it's black. If he says it's white, it's white. So long as he trusts him, so be it. Although he still thinks Uematsu and Ibuchi are shady as fuck. Don't like him one bit. His driver agrees, saying how Majima would make a much better captain. Like hell would he ever take the seat. As if he's gonna last a day with a con man like Terada. This reformation shit is just an excuse for him to get his own crew into executive roles. Yakuza these days. Beat around the bush too much. Majima sighs. Or maybe I'm just aging out of this Yakuza thing. His driver laughs, saying Majima's way too young for that. Who the hell are you to say? Now quit being such a goddamn chatterbox and step on it. They arrive back in Kamurocho with Majima heading straight for his office. But it's not long before he finds himself surrounded by men. He asks if they're Uematsu's, but they ain't talking. That makes it nice and easy for Majima and his knife!
Ooh, we're stabbing
Straight away, God.
Yeah.
He slices them up and the men continue to laugh, saying how he should have worried about his own family more than theirs. Majima rushes to the family office where he finds a crowd gathered, whispering about a turf war. He finds Nishida and his other men splayed out in front of the office. It was Uematsu's men. Now Majima's pissed, because like hell do you touch his men? Well, if Uematsu wants a war, he's fucking getting one. But better get ready to answer the door, because hell's about to come knocking. He runs to the Uematsu office, finding it odd that it's quiet there. Not celebrating that cheap shot on his boys? He heads in, quietly moving through the halls. But as he approaches Uematsu's office, he notices something off. A trail of blood leading from the hall into the office.
Oh.
He follows it, turning the corner into the office, to find Uematsu splayed out in his office chair, brains sprayed on the wall behind him.
Right, I'm just ticking off Uematsu right straight away.
He's already gone.
Didn't even last 5 minutes. Right.
Chapter 2.
Hey.
Prodigal Son. Majima finds himself back at HQ with Ibuchi telling him to explain himself over the incident. Nothing to it, though. Just happened to find him dead. But y'all were rivals, weren't you? Seems a bit suspicious. Majima glares
I don't
down
have a gun on me. I don't carry a gun. I just, we'll do all that.
Majima glares down at him, telling him that if he has something to say, he can spit it out. Kashiwagi gets up, shouting at him to cut the baseless accusations. What proof does he have to Majima having done it?
Kashiwagi's such a fucking boy.
A small smile spreads across Ibuchi's lips as he says that he doesn't have any now, but he's sure he will in time. After all, they call Majima the Mad Dog for a reason. He laughs, telling them to cut the charade. It's embarrassing watching the old guards stumble to cover for each other. Kashiwagi starts to rush towards him, but Majima puts an arm out to stop him, telling him that it's cool. He's getting real tired of all this talking in circles, so I think he's just going to bail on this stupid little tea party of theirs. You gotta stop yapping if I bring you the head of Uematsu's real killer. Ibuchi smiles, telling them that, of course. If he can, that is.
Chase,
Yeah.
we're on chapter 2 already.
Yeah.
There are 3 chapters. How much of Majima do you play in chapter 1? Because that kind of seemed like it was like 3 cutscenes.
Barely any.
Right,
You
okay.
do 2 fights.
Cool. Is there almost like a sequence? So do you get like to walk around Kamurocho and do nonsense?
Yeah, at some point, yes.
Oh, fair enough. I was just curious if like there's a bit where the game opens up. Huh.
Majima heads out and just gets instantly jumped in the courtyard by Uematsu's men who want revenge. Sadly for them, Majima could take 6 men with his good eye shut, so it's not long before they're all on the ground. Majima tells them that didn't they learn anything from when they jumped him in Kamurocho, but they're not really sure what he's talking about. Kashiwagi runs out, seeing the men at Majima's feet and shouting at them for attacking without evidence, but Majima's cool with it. Boss just took a bullet. Anybody want to put out their pent-up aggression?
Such a reasonable guy.
Yeah.
Oh, this is very much... I think that Kiwami 2 is a very Yakuza 2 personality Majima. Side story feels a lot more like Yakuza 0 Majima.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
He feels a lot like later series Majima than he does Yakuza 2 Majima.
Speaking of Yakuza 0, so say if you're playing this in order, you've started with 0. In 0, Majima unlocks a crap ton of fighting styles. For example, the breakdance fighting style.
He only has his demon style.
Just demon style in this. I mean,
It's kind of like how Kiryu only has the dragon style in this.
I mean, it's a lot of work to program 4 different styles.
They move away from that in favor of just a traditional kind of skill tree.
He's got his own way of doing things now. It's fine. I was just curious.
Kashiwagi asks what Majima's plan is, with him replying that he figured he'd just start smacking up every thug this side of town. Rattle enough skulls and you're bound to hit the right one eventually. Kashiwagi sighs, saying that he absolutely expected as much. and he hands Majima a note containing the name and location of a legendary informant, the florist Asai.
Oh.
What's he gonna have for me? A pretty bouquet? Oh well, Majima thanks him, Kashiwagi telling him that they need his attention on the clan. It's on a precipice here. Find the culprit and get any doubt from Terada and his lackey's mind. Now, Majima doesn't particularly care about Terada and his circus monkeys, but he isn't going to complicate this. Just find the guy who set him up and, dislocate a few bones. Mm-hmm. Majima heads to the Millennium Tower where he finds the florist.
He doesn't have goons for this. Like, I appreciate that. I like a man that gets his hands dirty, but...
Nah, he only really uses his goons on, the silly shit.
He's got a simple strategy, Majima, but he is quite an insightful guy. Yes. Which I appreciate.
You're back at base figuring out what the font's going to be for Majima construction.
But yeah, so he heads to the Millennium Tower where he finds the florist, already knowing that he's going to show up, because obviously nothing fucking gets past the florist. The florist looks at him questionably, saying that if he couldn't keep tabs on a guy who dresses like Majima, he'd have no business fucking doing what he's doing.
And imagine a guy like Majima specifically, you probably have a full-time guy dedicated to tracking anyway.
And his salary is more than everybody else's because he's taking a lot of stress home.
Yeah, let me know if this guy ever gets close.
I want to know who's the Majima guy and who's the Kiryu guy.
Hey, honey, how was work? What were you doing today? Watching Majima. Oh, what was he up to today? Well, he gutted like 4 guys in an alleyway. Why? Because they blinked at him.
And you know Alan, who's on Kiryu duty? He just sits and watches him play video games all day while a little girl brings him lunch.
I really hate Alan. I might start a very personal rivalry with him. Yeah, honey, you got the zombie makeup? You got zombie makeup at home? You got zombie? Let's sort out a plan. Let's get
Honey,
Alan.
this is already a mini game.
Anyway, this info's hot, so it ain't coming cheap. Now, Majima's fine with this. As for once, he's got a barrel full. But no, the florist isn't taking cash for this one. He'll give Majima the info he needs in return for a single favor. He wants Majima to take over the operation of Purgatory. So this is how Majima got Purgatory.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. The florist trusts Majima with his entire, home? His original home?
Seems it.
God.
He tells Majima about the place, tempting him over with the promise of an underground fighting ring, specifically. Anyway, Purgatory's just been kind of getting neglected because, obviously he's up here now. And he needs somebody who he can trust to take care of it. Majima tells him that he ain't the kind of guy that you can trust, with the florist responding that who he can trust or not is his call to make, not Majima's. Fair enough.
Sometimes unpredictability is in fact predictable in itself, isn't it? So I get it.
Majima agrees with the terms, and the florist turns on his system, shocking Majima at the number of screens. The florist pulls up the camera from Uematsu's office, starting from when Majima arrived. He rewinds, and we watch as a man runs from the office. It's Majima's driver.
Oh.
His name is Kawamura. Majima stops to storm off to his office. Kawamura's got some splaining to do. But the florist stops him, saying that Kawamura isn't in Kamurocho anymore.
Oh.
Then, where is he? The florist spins around, looking at Majima with a small smile. He's in Sotenbori. And Majima grimaces.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
All facades break, and he just... pure,
Yeah, that's Torture Town.
He's probably not been back to Sotenbori since Zero, right?
This is the first time that he goes back since Zero.
Ooh, revisiting trauma, Majima, okay.
And I think that it is the only time since as well. I do not think that for the remainder of the series he goes back to Sotenbori, if I remember right.
Okay, cool.
Sotenbori appears in a couple other games. I just don't think that Majima's ever there. I think Majima very much sticks to Kamurocho.
I'm sure this series will go all sorts of places. We'll end up on a bloody, I don't know, a Hawaiian island, and Majima will somehow be there, but we'll never see him in Sotenbori,
We've got to have a fight on an aircraft carrier at some point as well. I'm just picturing end game boss locations that are Metal Gear, but not... yes, I think Monty did probably land on something, judging by the suspicious look on your face, Chase.
Why? Is Majima going to end up in Hawaii? It's a very specific location for Majima to end up in. There's an awkward silence in the room, everyone, and I don't know.
I think he's going to go to Australia.
Anyhow, Majima arrives back in Sotenbori for the first time in years, and when he's here, it is like full-blown back to Yakuza 0 Majima. He is like, he's pissed off that he's here. It is like back to being, manager of the Grand type.
He's not. Yeah, he'd found a way of expressing himself that he was comfortable with when he was away from here.
Yeah, he's very much not
Well,
happy.
don't forget, Makoto's probably here. And I don't think we're ever going to see her again.
Last we saw Makoto was in Kamurocho with the doctor.
Yeah.
Oh, it was a Kamurocho we saw her. Okay, my bad. Fair enough.
So Majima arrives back in Sotenbori for the first time in years. Back here of all places. Well, he needs information, and the best place to get that is, well...
Tell me it's the Grand.
Shit. This blows, but gotta do what you gotta do. He heads over to his old stomping ground, the Cabaret Grand.
Yes! So good.
Still one of the best scenes we've had in the entire series.
100%.
The waiter fight, where he's sort of politely serving the guy as he's dodging all his attacks.
He's bowing and stuff. Yeah, it's very good.
He heads over to his old stomping ground, where a waiter asks if this is his first time visiting, and asking him if he'd like set up with any specific hostess. Nah, just set me up with whoever's popular with young assholes. I've got money to burn. They set him up with a girl up on the balcony, and he instantly jumps for the most expensive bottle in the house, hoping that the bonus that she'll get off him buying it will get her to indulge him in his burning questions. He takes out a photo of Kawamura, asking if she's seen him. Sadly, she's not, but because he's being so nice, she's happy to go talk with the other girls about it. Things have been a bit quiet today, and besides, anybody willing to splash out on an expensive bottle like that deserves a little TLC. It's not long before she manages a hit, bringing back that another girl, Ayumi, knows Kawamura. They went to the same junior high, although she tended to avoid him because he tended to hang out with a rough crowd. He asks her if she knows about anything more recent. She heard that he's been having some debt trouble, bit of a gambler. Been asking around some of her friends for money, not that they'd give him any. So he ended up borrowing from a local Yakuza, and well, with interest rates and all, sounds like he's been running from some guys that she wouldn't mess with. She's sorry that she can't offer him anymore, but Majima says she's been a doll. And he gives her his number, asking to call him in case she hears anything else. But how does his debt connect him to Uematsu? He needs to hit the town. He leaves the Grand to find men waiting for him, which of course means he's getting close to something. He quickly drives them off, thinking that if the Grand was a bust, maybe he'll try Odyssey. If it's still standing, that is. Remember, that was the big rival club back in Yakuza 0. Annoyingly, though, it's not. It's gone, replaced by a new club called Andromeda. He looks next to it, seeing a sign for a small club called Forshine, which... Oh, they're gonna kill me. I cut Forshine from the Yakuza 2 script. Quick TLDR.
It's fine, yeah. Tell us.
Forshine is the Cabaret Club minigame from 0 again, but this time it's Kiryu who's the manager, and it is Yuki and what's her name who were his best girls who now run the new Forshine.
Oh, so Majima's best girls from Yakuza 0 now run their own club, and Kiryu comes in and takes it away from them like a bad bloke.
No, he comes in and manages it because they ask him to.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Dumbass.
I'm just oh, sorry, I forgot.
Boy,
I came for Kiryu, I forgot.
never seen them bite our head off like that before.
Yeah, I'm only being silly.
Fucking arsehole.
Prick.
I'll kill
Right,
you.
you two aren't staying here tonight. I need my own space. No, fair enough. Okay, cool. Right, so but that's it.
Fan base, I love you. I will try to put Forshine in at some point. You
What
will be
else-
redeemed.
What else are we missing from that?
Yeah, it doesn't sound like we missed all that
Yeah,
much.
There's not a lot of like
cabaret minigame.
there's not of overreaching. There's just they show back up in later games.
Yes,
just good to see
another
Yuki
club.
again.
It's just a fan favorite moment.
Okay.
What's Yuki doing? Because she was Majima's best girl who was a bit shit, and then he trained her up. So is she really good now?
So she owns the club. She's Forshine's owner.
Oh, I see. So Kiryu works for her
Yeah.
when he manages it. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, she's still working, but she very much has kind of gone from being a hostess herself to being an owner. He looks next to it, seeing the sign for Forshine, and laughing about how it looks like his old club Sunshine is getting copycats.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Cabaret club business still seems to be booming, though. As he goes to leave, he sees a man named Yamagata mumbling about how Forshine's miserable, got a year top left. Because keep in mind, this is then before, so they're not doing it hot now. Then they do hot when Kiryu comes and helps them manage later.
Club Ares has relocated to Sotenbori. Club Ares was important in Yakuza 1, right? Have I misunderstood that?
No, you're right. There's a Club Ares in 2 as well, isn't there? But do they not go there when they go to Sotenbori?
Oh, maybe. I just remember it in Yakuza 1.
Ares was the bar in Yakuza 1.
That was it. Oh, okay. So it's just a same name. It's just a lucky coincidence. Fair enough. I just see throw on the left hand side.
It
says floor 7.
It's also different spelling.
Oh, Ares God of War.
Probably Club Arise or something because it's got an I in it.
Anyhow, as he leaves, he sees a man named Yamagata mumbling about how Forshine's miserable. It's got a year tops left. But wait a second. Yamagata was the name of the Odyssey's old manager, wasn't it? The two men instantly recognize each other. This was like the prick guy who, he tried to go poach his girl, but then later he let him use the back room to store Makoto. Yeah.
Okay.
So they instantly recognize each other.
He must look at Majima, who's this sort of immaculately dressed business owner, and now he's looking at this fucking weird shirtless snakeskin guy with an Adolf Hitler haircut. He must stare at him and just, you had a good few years, buddy? You had a normal time?
We were doing so well in the monetization until that, but now we've mentioned Hitler's.
They reminisce a bit. They actually get on quite well now that they're not, business rivals. They're able to reminisce on the past, but they move on to business. Yamagata recognizes Kawamura. Not by name, mind, but Kawamura seems to be a mahjong addict. He'd be in a parlor any time of day that Yamagata was there. Even sat at his table a few times. He's not a bad player for a kid. Sadly, that parlor's been closed for at least 2 years, and outdated info is not worth much, but Majima thinks otherwise, thanking him for the mahjong tip and asking where the parlor was. It's a little further south of Shofukucho, above a massage parlor named the Hogashi Kaikon.
Why does that ring a bell?
Because that's where Makoto worked.
Oh, that's the massage parlor from Zero. Okay, cool.
Majima goes white at the name as Yamagata continues. Remember that explosion back in the late 80s? Closed down after that, but then it reopened the following year. Maybe the staff there could help. Your buddy, when he had a good day at the table, he'd head there for a massage. Majima thanks him for the info, with Yamagata laughing about how yesterday's enemies are tomorrow's friends and telling him not to be a stranger. Majima goes to leave. Best to get this over with. As he goes, we see two women rushing out of Forshine. There was a creepy man with an eye patch just down there. I wanted to yell at him to move along, but I was too scared. You think he was sent to intimidate us? Her manager, Yuki, sighs. Koyuki, that's her name. It's Yuki and Koyuki. Yuki sighs, telling her that he's gone now, so they best not worry about it, and he sends her back inside. She looks out in the street. A creepy guy wearing an eye patch? Nah, no way.
Bless him. I mean, Majima didn't speak to any girls or do anything that creepy. He's just going and looking for information. He wasn't even...
I mean, to be fair, you take a look at him, he looks a bit creepy.
And he is a bit creepy in his actions. He's always popping out of bins and shit.
Yeah, but in this environment, I think he just kind of went in sheepishly and just kind of like, looking for color, you got any information on my friend Kawamura.
He is also sort of shirtless, staring in the window. I might... If you saw him on the street, outside your house, and you didn't know him, you'd call someone.
If he was staring into my window, fair enough. Yeah, I'd probably call you.
What am I gonna do?
Neil, you free. I need you to come here now. Bring chase.
Majima arrives at the Hogashi Kaikon, none too thrilled to be there, but a lead's a lead. So he heads in. He walks in and it is an absolute blast from the past. Nothing has changed.
Wow.
The woman at the front desk greets him, asking what course he'd like. No. He pulls out a picture just asking if they know him. They do. He used to do his massages all the time. Haven't seen him in about a year, though. That seems to align with, just about the time that he joined up with Majima. He tries to dig for more info, saying that he's trying to help him out of some trouble. She remembers that the last time he was here, he was talking strange, saying how he was finally free of his debts. Said he'd met somebody who'd shouldered the whole thing, and that he'd be going back to Kamurocho with him, so he wouldn't be back. He thanks her going to leave, but she repeats her original question, asking what course he'd like. He put her through all that for nothing? And after she broke every privacy protection rule in the book, too.
Yeah.
Fine. She wore him down, and he asks for the shortest course that they have.
Cheap bastard.
The 30-minute course, then. Tateyama-san's the best in our store. Will she work for you, sir? Fine, whoever's fine. She asks him to go...
Right answer in a massage parlor. Yes, as somebody who gets massages, actual physio massages, right answer. It's weird and creepy if you're specific about which person you get your massage from.
I don't know. I feel like you have the same person every time.
I actually agree.
Especially
with
if it's like a sports
I think it
massage.
depends on your... I think it depends, for sure, but it's a bit like if you're getting a physio massage, it's like when my the reception at my GP asked me if I have a preference on which doctor I want to speak to. Yeah. And sometimes I do.
Okay.
I think it was a recreational massage, different thing, but like a sports massage.
It could be in a certain place, a creepy thing to...
Can I have Beverly? Yeah. Don't know why that was the name. But that's the name that popped into my head.
Beverly really butters my crumpets.
Oh, God.
The front desk lady asks him to undress and wait on the table. She'll go fetch Tateyama. Good afternoon. I'll be your masseuse today. I'm Makoto Tateyama. She leans over, close. God, I'm like immediately welded with tears. Oh. I'm Makoto Tateyama. She leans over, closer to his face. Nice to meet you, sir. He jumps, seeing her quickly turning his head the opposite way. And just, it is a look of absolute pain on his face.
Oh my God.
It is like nothing but pain on his face.
She's still working here? Fair enough. Just, okay. And her eyesight, right?
Remember, she's not blind anymore.
She's not
But
blind
she never
anymore.
saw
But
his
she
face.
never saw what he looked like.
Never saw what it looked like. And it's still like a little bit blurry, right? It's
No.
Oh no, sorry, it was trauma blindness. It was
Yeah, at this point, she's good. She's grand by this
But
point.
she never ever saw his face.
But she'd recognize the eye patch.
She recognized his voice.
Yeah, she recognized the voice. Okay, cool. Oh God, I did not expect this. I thought this would just be like Majima punches some.
Never
guys in
ever
the
thought
alleyway.
we'd see her again.
Yeah.
The Majima DLC, breaking hearts, baby!
Set the ticking clock for Makoto to die. No. She better not. She better not. Nah. Still my favorite female character. Right, continue.
Chapter 3.
Oh wow.
Mad Dog of Shimano.
Okay. Well, that name is disconcerting.
Makoto begins her massage, and Majima stays dead silent throughout. She tells him to let her know if there's any pressure, moving from his back, down to his legs, to his feet. She presses into his feet, with him jumping and writhing in silent scream. He's like absolutely just like writhing in excruciating pain and trying desperately not to scream.
I mean, he probably hasn't had a massage in 20 years. Let's face it.
Oh, this dude gets massages all the time.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Or do you think, like, trauma-wise, he doesn't?
Unsure.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Oh, was there any pain, sir? He hurriedly shakes his head no, falling to the table with a thump as she lets go of his feet, only to be launched immediately back into it as she moves on to the other foot, clutching his hand over his mouth in a desperate attempt not to let his voice be heard.
It's so good to be reminded that the old Majima is still in there. Like, I appreciate... this is good shit. It's just good to know that, like, he hasn't completely lost himself. The old Majima is deep, deep in there. The trauma is not something that we're forgetting about moving forwards. Yeah, cool.
Yeah. She moves onto his arm, Majima gasping as he notices a small watch on her wrist.
Oh, God.
She takes her hand away, apologizing, asking if the watch was bothering him. He shakes his head no as she goes back to the massage. It's a treasure of mine. I've had it almost 20 years. I take good care of it. When the strap wore out, I even got a new one for it. It's an old piece, though, so new colors don't really match it. I really liked the original design. Felt more sophisticated. She looks down at the watch, a look of nostalgia washing over her face. To tell you the truth, I got it from somebody who saved my life. Majima looks down at the table, silently and sad.
Say something, you fucking idiot.
He doesn't want her involved in his life.
Leave the Yakuza and fucking... This is the Yakuza Zero thing again. Leave the Yakuza. I get it. But God does it hurt.
She'll never be as safe with him.
Actually, there was a time when I was blind due to psychological reasons. That was when I met him.
The whole thing.
Excuse me, ma'am. I am getting a massage. This is a lot.
I was just a stranger, caught in a big mess. But he protected me with his life, never even telling me his name. at the lowest point in my life, he pulled me back from the darkness. Thanks to him, I even regained my vision. I got married, had a child. I'm always swamped, but life is great.
I'm getting choked up.
I never would have imagined a future like this was possible for me. I'm really happy now.
She did it.
She did it. She got out.
I'm just so glad I didn't lose hope. That I found the will to keep going. But when we parted ways, I never even got the chance to thank him for that. I regretted it ever since. In fact, that's what me led back to working at this massage parlor. This is where I first met him. And Sotenbori is a special town for me. Full of memories from what time we had. So I thought if I stuck around and just lived my life in these old haunts, maybe I'd meet him again, just one more time. Meet him and finally get a chance to say thank you. Majima stays perfectly still through all of this with just a look of still melancholy across his face. Makoto apologized for the depressing story, saying that she's weirdly chatty that day. Not even her husband knows that story, so it's their little secret, okay? He lets out the smallest of laughs at that. The massage over, he goes to leave, putting his jacket back on and walking for the door. Makoto runs after him, extending a membership card. We haven't met before, have we? Majima's voice catches in his throat as he looks at her, giving her a small shake of his head. He takes one last look at her, then down at the watch, and turns to leave. She stops him again. Are you feeling better at least, sir? He finally speaks, in a low voice to somewhat distort it. You worked out some knots I've had for 18 years.
There you go.
A small smile spreads. We're both getting choked up.
Neil is buckled over.
I'm just in a bit of pain. It's like the developers went, oh, you sure you want this? You sure? Here you go, you little fucks.
It's fine if we never get this. It is, but I would love almost like a sitting on a rooftop moment with Kiryu and Majima. Not next game, not even the game after that, but later down the line, where Majima just kind of has like a frank, sincere conversation with Kiryu and maybe talks about all of this. I don't even treat it. It's not like a therapy session or anything, but just maybe they just have a drink where he goes,
hopes up about interactions between those two.
No.
We learned the hard way.
But a sincere one where it's not the Mad Dog speaking, but it's Majima speaking. I would love to see that one day. I think that's a great thing to work towards.
Keep going.
A small smile spreads across his lips as he's able to walk out the door happily with a wave.
Oh.
Majima leaves the parlor, finding the woman from the front desk outside. She tells him that he's lucky for having gotten to see Tateyama-san because it's actually her last week there. Her husband's job is taking them overseas.
Cool.
Majima asks how much longer she has in the country, with the receptionist telling him that she said something about getting on a plane early the next week. He lets out a contemplative and walks away.
As in fans, that is it. No more Makoto. Stop asking.
As he leaves, he gets a call. It's Ayumi from the Grand. She sounds worked up. It's Kawamura. He's here. She was at a table with an Omi exec when suddenly Kawamura rushed in and shot the guy.
Oh my god.
Kawamura's on her fucking rampage.
What is this kid doing?
She tells him that they're in a lockdown and urges him to come quickly. Majima finds Kawamura shaking on the VIP balcony, demanding to know what the hell he's doing. He holds his gun, shaking hard, saying that if it wasn't the Omi exec, it would have been him. He didn't have a choice. Majima asks if it was him who shot Uematsu, and Kawamura doesn't deny it. But there's only one left. Just one more, and when it's done, I'll be free. He spins around, turning his gun on Majima. If I kill you, boss, I get out alive. I'm sorry, boss, but please die. He shoots, his shaking causing him to miss Majima by an inch. Majima crouches down, taking a battle stance. It's time for some hard parenting. Kawamura looks up at Majima from the floor, saying how he's really something. If only he'd met him earlier in life, things might have turned out differently. Majima asks why he pulled a stunt like this. He looks up. Boss, I'm so sorry. Bang! Kawamura stops short, as a bullet goes through his forehead.
Oh, yeah.
Majima spins around.
Oh, yeah?
No, not yeah, but just more like, yeah, of course this would happen.
Majima spins around. You did well, Kawamura.
Yeah.
It's our young...
We'll consider your debt paid in full.
It's
Ibuchi.
It's Ibuchi.
The handsome young businessman.
Do you like this one where there's only like 3 names to remember?
Yes, yeah, I've written down 3 names. One's dead, 2's dead, and now it's got Ibuchi left.
Ibuchi. He laughs about how paying a little debt and people are clay in your hands. A little money, a little violence. Yakuza are truly silly and oh so simple. Majima asks what his motives are, with Ibuchi responding how the Yakuza are one of the most illogical and old-fashioned industries in the world. A bunch of brainless cretins professing duty and ideals as they rule in whatever haphazard way they see fit. So inefficient. Coming from a consulting background himself, Ibuchi decided to do some proper management. He straightens his glasses to make sure you know that he's the smart one. He plans to consolidate the country's Yakuza, providing some semblance of logic to their underground world. In other words, an update. Uematsu is just part of that consolidation. He felt that the Tojo clan would be simple enough to overthrow, a nice foothold for his ambitions. He tricked Terada into moving him up the ranks and got rid of anybody in his way, which of course will one day include Terada himself. Then he'll hand the Tojo to the Omi, consolidating it into the largest Yakuza organization in Japan.
Wow, so he was another route for the Omi.
Yeah.
He'll create a logical, more modern Yakuza world. One that isn't swayed by duty or ideals.
Duty.
Majima laughs. What a crock. Not that Ibuchi expected him to understand, but still he needs an explosive catalyst to ensure a smooth merger. A war. No firmer trigger for that than the death of an Omi exec at Tojo hands. Kawamura saw to that. But it would have been a shame to let a punk like him take Majima when Ibuchi could just do it himself. He holds his gun aimed. Sorry, but your death is kindling for my coming blaze. You'll be the foundation that rights this rotting underworld. That's not so bad, is it? You'd probably end up dead in a ditch anyway. At least dying here gives you meaning. Majima glares at him, telling him that this ain't the kind of life that a guy like him can attach prices to. He doesn't give a shit about his vision. He's only here to knock that smug-ass grin off of his smug-ass face. Ibuchi laughs, saying how typical it is that he would try and change fate by force. An idiotic dinosaur of a Yakuza like him needs to be extinct. Majima flicks his knife from its sleeve, dodging Ibuchi's shots with ease as he rushes towards him for a gun-on-knife fight.
Fun. Okay.
Sadly for him, idiotic dinosaurs are kind of, better fighters than number crunchers, so he's barely even a mini-boss. Majima grabs him by the face, hauling him up from the floor and pointing his knife to his throat, telling him that if he thought he'd get away with killing one of his own, who's the real idiot? He throws him to the ground, saying that he can go eat slop in the hole and learn to see things his way. He goes to leave, but Ibuchi picks up his gun, laughing about how the gears of war are already spinning and the Tojo clan will fade. Things are just about to get interesting. He turns the gun to his head, giving a wicked smile to Majima,
Oh, God.
who simply turns and walks away, the shot going off behind him as Ibuchi falls to the ground.
Jesus.
That's a grim and weird thing for Ibuchi to do. He seemed like such a logical and sensible guy. The idea of just shooting himself before this big plan kicks off in Yakuza 2. Odd thing to do. But whatever, he's been in...
I think it's because they wanted him to be here for this, but he's not in Yakuza 2.
Yeah, I
Just have
Majima
kill him.
Yeah.
Majima kills.
Yeah.
And that's us.
No, of course not. Back in HQ, Terada apologized to Majima, saying that it's his responsibility for failing to see Ibuchi's true intentions.
Yeah.
He'd been so focused on the numbers that he lost sight of what couldn't be quantified. Perhaps he's been going about it the wrong way.
But of course, we know that Terada probably knew that Ibuchi was up to this, right? Because
Almost certainly, yeah.
Boys, yeah.
Majima scolds him, telling him that the chairman shouldn't say what's wrong, even if he is. You're the 5th chairman of the Tojo clan. If you say it's white, it's white. If you say it's black, it's black. That's the Yakuza world that we live in. No matter your methods, if you think you're right, you are. But, right or wrong, I think your methods suck.
Fair enough, yeah.
Majima tells him that what they really need to worry about is the Omi. Ibuchi's plot or no, one of his boys killed an exec, and they're not going to take that lying down. And Terada tells him that the Omi is already demanding an explanation. Majima knows that if they go at it with the Omi, they're cooked, so he has an idea to propose. He pulls out his knife, handing it over to Terada. Omi HQ. Chairman Goda and his officers sit waiting in the meeting chamber as the door opens, and Chairman Terada and Majima enter. Terada apologizes profusely for the disruptions to the Omi alliance. Ryuji ain't hearing it, saying that his apologies are spit in the wind. Sengoku reminds him that even if he was third rung, he's still an officer, and he demands to know how they're going to make that right. Answer wise now? Or Kanto and Kansai may be going to war on a grand scale. Chairman Goda tells them to chill it. They didn't arrange this meeting to fight. He apologizes to Terada for their lack of grace, but he still agrees that the Tojo does need to make this right. He doesn't want war, but he can't let this set a precedent. Majima steps forward, telling them that it was one of his men who offed the officer, so as the fault lies with him, his patriarch. Takashima then points the question at him. How will you, Majima, take responsibility? The Majima family. I'll disband it. The room noticeably shakes, with Sengoku declaring how the Majima family is practically the reigning authority in the Tojo these days. Like, they are the biggest by miles.
Pretty mad that he's got the most men. The most men willing to follow Goro Majima into battle.
Keep in mind, he absorbed a good majority of Shimano's men.
Oh,
I mean, you've talked so much about how much your legend affects how your men think of you.
Yeah.
And he is the greatest living legend who's still in the Yakuza across both cities. I mean, he's the fucking mad dog.
Yeah, like there are, I'd say 5 Yakuza legends in this series up to this point, with him being one of them.
And hey, you work
Tim,
for Majima, you get to work
Kiryu,
on, like, making dresses for Goro.
Ryuji, and 2 others who are not legends yet.
Okay.
The room shakes. Does he think that he can just up and disband a family like that just because he feels like it? If I say we're done, then we're fucking done! Majima silences them, saying that the family is done, and all his members, including him, will leave the Tojo clan. He apologizes profusely for what happened. With that, are you willing to settle accounts? Majima and Terada leave with Chairman Goda, leaving the officers in the room. Sengoku's ticked the war didn't break out, and Takashima's asking, if you wanted a war so badly, why didn't you pick a fight right there and now? Ryuji looks ahead. Picking a fight with a no-bullshit guy like that? Out of the question. Besides, Sengoku's sure that they'll get a nice big ol' fight soon enough, so let's leave the fun and games for then. Takashima asks if it would be fair to assume that one of them was behind Ibuchi. Ryuji turns it back at him, saying that those are fighting words. And he looks back at the door. Goro Majima. Hell of a guy. Time passes, and we see a nice little lively yellow hard hat.
Yay.
As Majima stands before his men. Gentlemen, morning! He gets a quiet morning back from them. That was weak shit. People who can't give a proper greeting can't build a proper building. Now, once more, all together now. Good morning, his crew shout. See, I knew you had it in you. So why didn't you do it right the first time? Nishida walks up to him cautiously, asking if they're really going to be running a business called Majima Construction. Building a huge complex Kamurocho Hills, that's impossible for amateurs like us. You jackass! Majima rushes down, smacking Nishida over the head with a bullhorn and grabbing him by the face. He throws him to the ground. Amateurs, huh? Stop crying like a bunch of babies. Are we gonna get any hills built with an attitude like that?
Yeah, have faith in yourself, lads. Come on.
Nishida looks up at him from the ground. That's exactly what I'm trying to say, actually. A wild smile spreads across Majima's face. For a job like this, you look it up on the internet and you start building. Ready, wise? Today is the first day of the rest of your lives. Not as Yakuza, but as blue-collar civilians who work day in and day out.
Yeah. Hard day's graft.
For about 10 months.
Any complainers get no paycheck. Actually, I'll kill you first.
I take it all back.
Nishiki looks up at him with great concern. We're a sweatshop, aren't we? We flash to the inside of a plane. Makoto Tateyama looks through her bags for her passport before pulling out a small wrapped present. She flashes back to her last day at the Hogashi Kaikon. One of her coworkers handing it to her, saying that it came addressed to her with no sender. Think it was one of her regulars, maybe? She unwraps the box, opening it to reveal a set of leather wristwatch straps.
Very good.
In a nice, sophisticated leather. She's shocked. I used to wear this. How, though? She flashes back, thinking of telling that odd customer that came by the shop the story of her watch. And tears fall from her eyes as she thinks back to him waving as he walked out the door.
Oh.
Later in the flight, her husband wakes up asking if she's okay. Couldn't sleep? No, she reassures him, looking out the window. This will be a fresh start for us. Do you have any regrets? He asks. She looks out at the ground below her, their new home, and smiles. Nope. Not a one. We see her watch, restored to its former appearance, with its new strap, keeping the memories close to her, as the scene fades. Majima Saga finished.
Good stuff.
They just wanted to, come in, rip out people's heart a little bit.
But I'm so happy. Because it worked.
It's such a good DLC. It is such a good addition to Kiwami.
Yeah.
And I think that it really does finally give closure. Because I will say, I don't think it's a spoiler, this is the only other time Makoto appears in the series.
So we are not doing any future Makoto. Oh, she's back. Oh, maybe they're together. No.
Makoto, at least as the character, is done. I think she gets mentioned a couple times later.
That's fine, yeah.
Specifically in the games that came out post-Zero. But she herself, this is her done. And this is kind of just the closure moment of, we're wrapping this up.
I think it's a really beautiful epilogue. It's an epilogue I didn't know I needed until we did it.
Yeah, it's cute. It's cute.
Really, really like it.
Thank you. We enjoyed that.
That's Yakuza 2. Yakuza 2's all done.
Oh.
Monty, what have we got coming up next?
Here's a little tease.
The killer left the heart next to the body. This wasn't some random act of violence. This was a ritual.
Oh my god, it's back!
I'm spiraling! Ah!
Oh, it's Alan Wake 2!
Did you forget that it was?
I'm sorry, I thought it was Yakuza. Sorry, yes, that's why you asked me. So we are
hysterical.
We're gonna basically take a momentary break from Yakuza so that we can do a spooky Halloween special. Oh, so expect that to release either on November the 1st or maybe we might release it October 30th. I think that might be nice. Not on Halloween because people are typically busy, but that way it's like the day before. I think Alan Wake 2 will be October 30th.
And the scariest thing about it will be the runtime.
Don't expect a two-parter. Hopefully it's just going to be a very long one-parter, probably looking at my notes. And we will be covering Night Springs as well right afterwards. And then
Rest in peace, Lake House. One day you'll come out.
Yes. And then what happens after that is honestly currently anybody's guess. Do we jump straight into Spidey? Do we do more Yakuza? It all kind of depends on what's happening with my son. So, because the Spidey episodes will be nice and short, so they're easier, just kind of like just not short, but shorter than a 3-part Yakuza.
Yes, correct.
Chase, how long is Yakuza 3, for example? I know it's not fully written.
Considerably shorter.
than Yakuza 2.
Yeah, massive.
If we're talking like Yakuza
This
1.
was our longest one, though. Like, this was...
Yakuza 0 is our longest one.
I don't know. Part 2 of this was like 5 hours.
Yeah, we'll see. After we take our breaks and stuff, yeah.
Anyway.
But yeah, so...
I'd say that Yakuza 3 is ever so slightly longer than 1.
Thank you for bearing with us as our schedule changes. We have lives as all of you do.
Yeah.
And thank you for your patience as we keep you guessing, keep you on your toes.
Absolutely.
Sticking by us. We appreciate you. Yeah, you. Thanks.
We'll see you next time in the lake. And for now, goodbye.
Bye, Majima-chan! Kiryu-chan. Oh, I fucked it!
Hey there, Lord Umpers. How do you feel about YouTube? Pretty good videos, right? Well, you prefer listening to things on Spotify. Well, how would you like the best of both worlds? That's right. Now, Spotify has videos on it. And we are going to put our videos on there too. That's right. You can enjoy the full Lore Dump video experience now on Spotify.